Kein Anschluss unter dieser Nummer.
Part of my job in the city's Metropolitan Police Department involves organising and maintaining inventory of our evidence lockers. Most of the work is mindless counting and weighing of objects with a hefty-sided data entry. It's primarily drugs, documents, confiscated weapons. However, I would like to share with you some of the more disturbing objects that are kept in Evidence Locker 13. Evidence Locker 13 is a place for particularly gruesome objects taken from crime scenes throughout the state. Often, these are homemade devices and improvised weaponry, objects you want to isolate due to their volatile nature. Some of the stuff you just don't want to lump in with your run-of-the-mill handguns and knives. This collection of brutal and twisted inventions has come to be affectionately referred to as the Maniacs Museum. Before anyone asks, photographs are prohibited in evidence lockers without special consent, so I will not be providing pictures as such. I can only describe for you some of the things that I have seen. Object 325, the Drowning Helmet. This object is just as the name would suggest. The drowning helmet was removed from a suicide case. It's a modified version of one of those old scuba divers helmets, you know, the kind that they put at the bottom of the fish tank atop the neon acrylic gravel to make it seem like an authentic freshwater habitat. This helmet has been affixed atop a fiberglass harness, the kind a bass drummer in a marching band would wear, with leather straps that prevent the wearer from shrugging off the contraption once it's been fastened in place. The straps are secured by padlocks once in place, meaning the wearer can't back out once they've committed. Around the neck of the helmet is a simple inner tube system connected to a hand pump, with enough tubing for the wearer to operate the system alone. Squeezing the pump fills the inner tube around the base of the helmet to expand, creating an airtight seal against the wearer's neck. A simple length garden hose protrudes from the crown of the helmet, one end feeding into the helmet, and the other end to be connected to your water source of choice. In the case from which the drowning helmet was confiscated, the source happened to be a utility sink in the creator's basement. What happens next, you can probably guess. The helmet strapped to the user, the seal is formed to the base of the helmet, and water comes in from the top. It takes about 45 seconds for the helmet to fill halfway, at which point the wearer begins to drown. From there, it's a waiting game. The glass view port of the helmet was spray painted black, leaving the wearer in complete darkness throughout the process. Object 429, the Shrapnel Dolls. This set of 7 children's dolls were collected after a spree of random murders that was successfully kept under the radar of the local media. You'd be surprised how many of the really fucked up cases get swept under the rug. You've got to avoid mass hysteria, you know. In this case, the Shrapnel Dolls were dropped off anonymously on steps of local orphanages. Sick stuff. The dolls are handmade, composed of thick yarn. The dolls' heads are hand-painted porcelain, clearly amateur work, faces verging on creepy. Their wide smiles and black eyes are unsettling, to say the least. Though the dolls are obviously of low quality production, they try to pass themselves off as the talking dolls that spout out cutesy catchphrases when the ripcord on their backs are pulled. However, you don't want to pull these ripcords. The cord connects to the firing pin of a small ball of improvised explosive. The explosive is packed with nails, screws, crushed glass, and, in a few instances, iodized salt. Like I said, sick stuff. The 7 dolls contained in the Maniacs Museum have obviously been disarmed. They're the last of an initial batch of 12 dolls. Due to the touchiness of this case, I can't say much, but I can confirm that their designer was arrested and convicted. Unfortunately, 4 of the Shrapnel Dolls were successful in their cruel mission, and the last doll has yet to be located. Maybe it was a dud. Maybe it went unreported. Maybe it's still out there, waiting for some innocent toddler to wonder what Dolly has to say. Object 62, Grim Sculpture. The Grim Sculpture is an oldie but a goodie. This is from an arrest made way back in '73 that made the headlines for a day or two. How do I describe the Grim Sculpture? You've been to the museum and seen dinosaurs, right? The T-Rex bones all floating on wires and articulated as if the big skeletal beast were just walking along like it were any other day of its life. Well, the Grim sculpture is just like that, though it depicts a creature never seen before. The sculpture is around 13 feet tall and nearly double that in length. The creature has 6 legs, each with multiple reverse joints, like an AT-AT or a chicken walker, as it's sometimes called. And the legs end in broad feet tipped with very long claws. These talons are too long to come from any real animal. So what's disturbing about skeletal sculpture? Well, besides the really frightening appearance of this fictitious creature, this art piece swerved into the realm of illegality due to the types of bones used. These bones were extracted from cats, dogs, birds, deer. The human teeth, lengths of human spinal cord, and those claws I mentioned, carved from human femurs. The rib cages of the sculpture were harvested from cattle, reported missing in the air. Most of the human teeth have long since been removed from the sculpture and replaced by moulded plastic, since the teeth were necessary for matching dental records. Of course, the sculpture is no longer kept in its original form, but stored in small chunks. Only faded photographs remain of the creature in its original terror. The artist behind the Grim sculpture was caught when neighbours grew suspicious after the disappearance of multiple neighbourhood pets. Family dogs were snatched from backyards and stray cats were found dead and devoid of bones at the local park. Those crimes were later connected to a series of missing person cases when the sculpture itself was discovered in the shed on the perpetrator's farm. According to the interview conducted after his arrest, the farmer claimed to have started the sculpture with bones extracted from animals found dead in his property. His work grew into an obsession. He found himself lacking certain sizes and types of bones that he could not acquire from roadkill. This obsession developed into pet abduction and later murder. When asked what the creature was supposed to represent, the farmer claimed that the sculpture depicted a demon seen in his dreams on several occasions. Suspended in the chest of the sculpture is a cast iron safe about the size of a basketball. The safe was the heart of the Grim sculpture. I do not know what was found when the safe was cut open, as that information has been redacted from the records. Object 223. The Quiet Box. The Quiet Box is a wicked contraption built in the basement of a junkyard owner. This sadistic sarcophagus, constructed primarily of iron. The long sides of the box are 5 feet, and it is as tall as it is wide at a mere 2.5 feet in both dimensions. The lid of the Quiet Box is particularly heavy, with a lead core. This cumbersome lid is actually a separate piece from the box, and instead is fitted to a hydraulic piston which drives the lid down into the box from above. It is, for lack of a better word, a crusher. I mean, it crushed people. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. If it was, the Quiet Box may not have earned its place in the Maniacs Museum. The Quiet Box derives its name from the torturous manner in which its victims take part in their own demise. The piston which drives the lid is controlled by a rusty old gearbox. A single crank of the gears will lower the lid by about half an inch. Very slow process. This gearbox, however, is only activated when a microphone rigged into the side of the box detects a certain decibel level. With each scream, the lid lowers a tick more. The claustrophobic space inside the box vanishes away with every sound the victim makes. The lid presses down and down and down until they're flattened. It's a losing game, of course. The decibel level required to activate the gearbox becomes progressively lower with time. After a few hours, the sound of your own ragged breathing is enough to set off the hypersensitive sound meter. At this point, it becomes nothing more than a human vice grip. The Quiet Box claimed 4 lives in its career, all female. There were no survivors. Object 301. Chloramine Crackers. The creator of these disgusting little things sure must have hated ravers. The chloramine crackers are designed to pass off as glow sticks, though they are a bit more rigid than your average rave accessory. These flakes are about 6 inches long and an inch in diameter. They're translucent and filled with a very thin liquid. The chloramine crackers come in a pack of 5. For those of you unfamiliar with the workings of a glow stick, I'll explain how they work. Illumination is created when 2 separate chemicals are introduced to one another inside the stick. A thin glass capsule on the inside of the glow stick contains one of the liquids, and when the stick is cracked, this glass capsule ruptures and allows the pair of chemicals to mingle inside the plastic tube. However, in the case of the chloramine crackers, the outer shell of the glow sticks rupture as well. The material used in the chloramine crackers is a brittle type of plastic that easily develops stress fractures along the length of the stick before shattering completely. The inner capsule of these devilish glow sticks is filled with ammonia, the outer tubing filled with a highly concentrated bleach. On 3 different occasions, chloramine crackers were distributed for free outside of popular dance clubs. In the midst of the crowded dance floor, some unsuspecting kid would crack one of his free glow sticks and douse his friends in a cloud of chloramine vapours. In those tightly packed clubs with poor ventilation and several intoxicated individuals, fumes from the chloramine crackers could really do some damage. There are no reported deaths in connection to the chloramine crackers, but a total of 36 victims experienced severe respiratory irritation, vomiting and throat swelling. While not particularly fatal, chloramine crackers are fiendish in design.